Welcome to Nostalgia Pilots, a Gundam Wing fan cast that could have been an officer by now. I'm Hugh.
I'm Jurd.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Spence.
And we're here to talk about Mobile Suit Gundam 8th MS Team Episode 2, Gundams in the Jungle.
And it smells weird here.
I was waiting for Welcome to the Jungle to play this entire episode.
Yeah, or even just a knockoff riff, but anyway.
Yeah.
The question I had is, which of them is going to box Sugar Ray Leonard?
Oh my god. I had so many moments of, oh god, you whiny baby, in this episode.
He's never been in a place with dirt before.
That's my first question, actually. Matter of fact, it's on my notes. It literally says, so does he get no training with his squad? Does he get not any intel about their defensive capabilities, their communication capabilities, how they should be military strategizing?
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting because I do feel like there are some correlations to other wars where he was trained in space and maybe he's really like, well, we know he's highly capable in space because we watched him use a utility ball to take out a Zaku last episode. But to be put into a theater where he's totally useless and just has to rethink everything, that was kind of an interesting take because it just seemed like military incompetence, the kind of thing that may actually happen.
By the way, that's another trope, a reoccurring trope in the Gundam series. Oh no, I forgot this mobile suit isn't set for space, or I'm not set for ground combat. Like, it's just this reoccurring thing. Come on, guys.
But I think we're also at the point where it's late in this particular war that they're like, we have a competent officer, shoot him out to kill people because we are in panic mode.
Right.
Send bodies.
I like how the heavy metal guy was just like, I give him 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, well, he might do better. And then by the end of the episode, I was like, nope. I'm now with heavy metal guy.
Yeah,
He's
2
right.
weeks.
I also like that Prospector guy was like, you have to have more respect for your commander. Give him a chance. You're on.
Everyone was busting this man's balls. Like, and don't get me wrong, he did nothing to, other than live, he did nothing to bolster their support. Like,
yeah.
Well, he gave his Aragorn speech, and then he shot that guy. Eventually.
Hey, don't die.
Yeah. There was a subtle, interesting setup at the start where they were kind of discussing how everything smelled weird and, they missed air conditioning, etc. And then they finally get to the camp, and that first commander who starts, I don't know, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, who starts dispensing their orders, is essentially like, I hate air conditioning. I'm so glad to be out here. And I was like,
I'm going to drink this glass of water while you watch.
Yeah, it was an interesting, like, I don't remember them playing further into that notion of bigotry, but the notion that there would be spacers and grounders and that they might have a bit of a dichotomy there, I wish they would play a little more with.
Like, I think that's something that was kind of a big deal in the original Gundam, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
So it would have been a big deal in this setting.
Yeah.
New types versus humanity, just regular humans, like, which I'm glad about. This is also the first time where they haven't talked about new types, and I don't know if they do in this series, but at least we get that, like you said, Jerry, we get the dichotomy between people from space and people from Earth. But more importantly, we get our first female Gundam pilot.
And
yes.
The other thing I thought was really interesting in the opening scene is that you hear all of the support troops saying, oh, well, there's that really young ensign guy who's supposed to be our commander. These are the rumors I heard about him. Well, I'd rather follow him than follow the massacre or Chief Hardass. So everybody's got their little trope. Although I want to hear more about the guy who's basically killed his squad in every single thing he's done.
Sanders the Reaper.
Yeah,
the Chief, yeah.
Yeah, I want to find out more about Chief Sanders.
That's another trope. There's always the black sheep of a crew, or the one who got transferred in. I mean, even so recently as J.J. Abrams' movie Overlord, where it was a secret zombie Nazi film.
Right.
one of the characters.
Oh, the one that I won't watch? Yeah.
Yeah, one of the characters in that movie was transferred into their unit just before this big mission because his entire unit was wiped out. Like I swear it's like a trope in almost every military thing that there's that one guy who's the only survivor of his unit, and now he's in this new unit, and by some measure or means he will sacrifice himself or do something to make amends for the fact that he was the only survivor. And I'm like, is that a punishable offense to live?
Well, I think survivor's guilt is sort of a thing.
Yes,
yeah, it's a solid trope, but it also allows them to be like, war is hell. This guy lost his entire squad without us ever having to meet the rest of the squad or be introduced to other characters. We know that it's a tough war already.
Also, we kind of get the impression from how he acts and what Karen says is that this guy lived because he's very good, actually.
Yeah, and
he is good at this.
The only, it's funny, the only character I've seen this be played for as a fault of theirs is actually in an anime called Galforce Eternal Story. They have a character who ends up on their ship because she was a fighter pilot, and she ended up getting her entire squad killed because she was hot dogging. Like, she was going for kills and not actual teamwork and squad play, and they ended up dying, and she survived because she was good, but she was only surviving they only died because she was going after a kills medal and stuff like that.
Oh, she was podammering it. I
was just about to say that.
And so, like, they actually play that, and later on it becomes an actual really good thing, and there's a tragic death in that movie. It's very sad, but, like, with this guy, they're literally just like, can't believe they said he took out such and such and such and such, but his whole squad died. And, like, I'm like, so he was just, they weren't as good as he was. Like, it wasn't like he was going out there like, oh, he's out by himself, lone wolfing it, like the commander does. Like, holy cow.
Yep.
Everyone's like, calm down, bro. Don't run off. And he's like, nope, gotta kill it.
Like, he kind of just decides he can't go back to base unless he gets a kill for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what?
But in the meantime, and that wasn't even their message. Their mission was back up this other squad that's looking for the secret factory.
Yeah, whatever happened to that other squad? Like, that other squad just disappears from the story.
Pretty much. The assumption is that those two Zakus killed the rest of those guys. I think. Because we do see them, like, bandaging survivors and stuff.
Right. I think the two censor guys whose names escape me at the moment. And we should mention...
Heavy Metal and BB's lover.
Elidor and Marichi.
Yeah, so BB's lover, we get the trope of them being like, oh, I can't wait to get in a Gundam, and then they find out that they're ending up in the sensor truck, essentially operating the cannon.
Okay,
which is kind of its own moment.
To be fair, that is a hover tank, and it's a goddamn cool hover tank.
Yeah, it is a cool hover tank. It's also clearly an excuse to sell a different model. But anyway, I do believe that they, at one point, when they see that the commander has decided to go wander off into the bush to chase that other Zaku, they turn off and essentially go to assist the injured battalion. And at that point, the Zakus have broken off. The chief has killed one, and the commander has chased another away.
Meanwhile, at the secret factory, we do get I'm gonna remember this girl's name.
Jerrica.
Yeah, we do see Jerrica's ship landing. Aina.
I love how she somehow doesn't get to Earth until after he does. Like,
well, I mean, he was on a transport going to Earth. She went back to base and then took a different shuttle to Earth.
It's interesting. We get a lot of really grimy sort of, Vietnam, obviously, inspired shots with the Gundams on the ground. And even though the Gundams are all white and shiny, they get a lot of muck on them, and the backpacks make them look a little bulkier and everything. But when she lands, the aesthetic of her ship and everything around it is such of the 70s, the original, like, series. That ship looks so 70s as she's coming. It's got those smooth lines, and it lands, and then she steps out, and she is full 80s. And then she, like, high-fives her brother, and he's like...
Okay, she doesn't high-five him. He, like, hugs her, and she puts her hands on his chest in a really weird way.
Very true,
but
actually.
You have to remember, the big brother syndrome is really popular in anime.
Way too big.
And this dude's dressed like Lord Byron with a flop brow. Like,
but
it
but
is
that hair,
all
though,
over the place.
But that hair, though, like,
That's Gem in the hologram's hair.
like this guy. Hold on, what's his name? Genius, I think it is. I think it is. Like, if I can spell his name correctly. Let's see. Oh yes. His name is Genius, and I called him AKA 80s hair Zex.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's got like the tunic with the Xeon bird logo on it,
and
looking like extra 70s.
And then he becomes an even more big trope because later on she's like, "Don't forget to take your medicine. Don't forget because I'm here."
Oh,
yeah.
Like and we cut to the ornate pocket watch, which has like a radio alarm clock in it, apparently.
Yeah.
Which he can't figure out how to reset because it keeps going off every 15 minutes. He hits snooze and it just goes off again.
Yeah.
Like, why is it keep going off?
Time.
Because that guy needs to take his medicine. Weren't you paying attention?
Yeah.
Dude,
Oh, I do find it interesting, actually, while we're back in the jungle, I do find it interesting that while they managed to grime up the exterior of the mobile suits, the actual pilots, well, at least the commander, are just basically wearing spacesuits.
Well, no, like
I think Karen's
the rest
more...
of them dress sensibly. Like Karen's wearing
like
tank top and overalls. Yeah.
Sanders gets in, he's wearing his clothes.
Yeah.
Right.
The commander
For
has
some reason, Shiro changes into his ship suit, complete with a helmet.
Like, I'm
And
gonna
you just
die.
see like every bead of sweat on him through that whole scene, and it's like, look at this idiot.
which actually leads to one of my favorite bits of animation in this is once he's on the run after those Zaku's trying to find it and or find his way back, he ends up falling into that little mire of mud and swamp water
and leeches.
Yes, my note literally says laugh out loud, leeches.
It's like, what are these things?
And it's actually a really good scene. I'm like, bro, you are gonna catch some terrible cold. He
falls into a bunch of mud. He like gets attacked by leeches. Like,
He's whining
he
and
drinks a
complaining.
bunch of water without purifying it.
Yeah, I was like, are you going to get dysentery from that water?
Yeah, this dude's
What are
gonna
you
spend like the
doing?
next week on the shitter.
By the way, that is my next note. So you just drink any running water, huh?
So it basically
Any old
goes,
jungle water.
I hate this planet. It's hot. It's gross. There's things that bite me, and I'm like so gross. And then, oh, there's a running water. I'm gonna wash my face and stick my whole head in and drink. And now I'm looking up, and everything's sparkly, and there's butterflies. Oh, I can see why we like this planet.
And then there
there's
are
a naked girl swimming.
And then, you know what? You guys must have read my notes because my next note is, so she strips naked because boobs. She's a girl because boobs. She needs she needs to bathe in your enemy territory because boobs. Like
She's floating. There's that scene where she's floating, and it's such an awful, like, hey, let's just highlight the boobs with the water flow kind of, like, oh my God, guys.
so egregious. Like it's so egregious.
Like, this is an OVA and we can get away with it, so boobs!
And next question. How many random enemy women is he gonna meet?
Well, I think that she's, like, one of the civilians.
Like,
She's a person that lives here. She is a white, red-haired lady that lives in this jungle, I guess.
Yeah.
Or that could be a tactic of the enemy to
just
have mostly women.
Well, gentle spoilers. She's the white, red-haired Vietnamese gorilla.
Ah.
wait, so she ran into the predator?
But I do like the fact that her response when she sees him, like, watching her bathe, or, like, skinny dip, is to just go for her gun and open fire.
Yeah, that part I did enjoy.
And his absolute, like, cluelessness of, why are you shooting at me? And I'm like, why are you asking that question? You've been sitting there watching her naked like a creep.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he could have at least been like, my bad, like something, but like so far they've given him just no redeemable qualities. He's a hothead. He doesn't follow his own instructions. He creepily watches women for no reason. Bruh, just because you're on Earth don't mean you haven't seen a woman before. Like there's no difference, man. There's no difference. They're just human beings. Like,
But I like that, but he starts off incredibly hot-headed, and by the end of it, when he does manage to relocate that final Zaku that's wandering around in the woods, he's essentially pep-talking himself. He's like, come on, Shiro, even you can do this. And his own opinion of himself has descended so far that he can barely fire his gun without needing to convince himself.
it's like he forgot that, hey, dude, you killed a bunch of people in space, bruh. Like you're a veteran. Like, I know you're new to this post, but you've done this before, just not on Earth. But I will say I did like the tension of that scene. That he actually does set an ambush, and there's very much so, like, unlike Gundam Wing with the fanciful, like they're just murdering and blowing through these mass-produced enemies. He actually, there's some tension there, like where he's trying to get the shot and he wants to get the kill shot, and the first time he shoots it, it doesn't go down. It actually, and I'm just like, hey, again, my note is, so robots get the fend off death trope, like they got one more action in them, like even though they've been riddled with bullets.
Well, I liked that scene because the Zaku pulls out its axe, which, excellent. You know what? Giant robots with melee weapons, let's do this. And then it starts running at him, and he kind of has a moment there where he's like, oh crap, he's got an axe and he's running at me. What do I do? I was trained for this. What is it again? What am I supposed to do? What do I do? Oh yeah, shoot. And then he just fires like 50 rounds. And you're like, oh yes, a gun. I have a gun.
They brought an axe to a gunfight. I think you win.
Well, I mean, the axe was his weapon of last resort.
Yeah,
but to be fair, this is the dude who, like, before they went out, like, stuck his whole face in a 100mm like rifle.
Okay, I am gonna say though, guys, if we are ever out on patrol together and I go missing for 2 days, I'm okay with being the laughing stock. Send support. Somebody come get me. I am lost.
Dude,
Help me, I'm lost. I don't know where I am.
Heavy Metal Guy's such a dick for that. He's like, nah, bruh, we can't call for help. He'll be the laughing stock. I wish someone had been like, yeah, or he could just be dead. Like,
You know.
And Karen seems pretty ready to just accept that. Like, yeah, I think we're gonna need a new Timmy on this one.
I do like the characterization of the Reaper though, where he wants to try to find this guy alive. Like, it lets you know again that he's been through some shit and he is not willing to allow someone to die so soon and so quickly. Like that, it really bothers him, and I think that's really cool. I think so far he's the most well characterized character in the show.
I did really like the way that, I'm not sure if this carried over into the dub, but in the sub in particular, like when they're gearing up and before they go out, Karen is like super polite, super fastidious. She's like, does everything meet your satisfaction, sir? I'm honored that you think so. And then they immediately get out into the field and it's like, you got to get your shit together.
Yeah, I like. I mean, it's not the most exciting characterization for a character. Like, the more quirky, obviously, the more interesting in some senses. But I like the fact that Karen's main thing is she's just really good at her job. She's just really competent. And
when she's not murdering people with wrenches, she's really good at her job.
Well, yeah.
So wait, we made this joke in a previous episode about if Sally Poe and another strong lady had a baby.
Karen is the new Sally.
Is she?
I was gonna say, I have that in my notes. I was gonna say, I think Karen is the new Sally. Like, she just seems there, ready to kick ass and competent.
I don't know, because Sally Poe was definitely more of a space mom. I feel like this is like Sally Poe, Lady Un hybrid.
Yeah, she's got the murder boner of Lady Un, but the skills and the preparedness of Sally Poe.
Well, I think that Karen, I think that main conflict there was like, Sanders like, we got to look for him. He's like, no, we have to get our team home because that's the mission.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep everyone else safe and not go running around in the dark in enemy territory for one guy.
Yeah, and she does also say that he said he wanted to keep the rest of us alive. Well, he accomplished that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I was like, man, that's savage, cold blooded.
Well, while we were talking the combat, though, I just want to put a special shout out to the Zaku's in this episode because they look badass. That red eye in the jungle look is intensely
yes.
Up
They've
my
got
alley.
spikes on the shoulders too, don't they?
Yeah, I think that's the Mark II. I don't know. That one's I'm a bit vague on that one.
Well, yeah, they're designed.
They both look like they're customized for fighting in a jungle. Even though it's like very impractical that you would have these giant robots in this environment.
Well, they at least the fact that they are that matte green lends itself to that, whereas you see the Gundams going through the jungle, and again, they look intensely cool. I am not naysaying any of that. But the white and the blue and the red, you're like, oh yeah, that's going to blend in well.
I do like, however, that we don't have these mass-produced, like, these, lesser mobile suits for everybody to use. No, everybody's rocking a Gundam. Like, every squad, all this stuff, they're using Gundams of different sorts with loadouts, and I like that. It shows you, again, because this is in the same timeline as the original series, that they took that one prototype and then now made more from it.
Mm-hmm.
They've learned.
Like he was saying, it makes it feel like it's later in the war. Like they've got themselves more or less together.
I also like mobile suits when they have a backpack. Like
I absolutely agree.
Backpack looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the shield, it's just really good. And plus, this is OVA, so the animation is really good, and the fights are fun. And there's none of that cheap, like, we're just gonna slide the panel around on the screen. Like, there's a lot of good motion here and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
I think that's part of it, is that like they're really taking the weight and the gravity of these giant robots into account. Like everything, like we see the tank has to drill down. Has to put things out. Like there's the spikes on the bottom of the shield so it can fire and stand.
Yeah, it's and I hope later on in the series we get some, I guess I don't want to say grittier, but I definitely would like some more combat, kind of like the ambush, but on a larger scale, because during the opening sequence, there's a lot of very dark imagery. Like there's a lot of busted Gundams, a lot of destroyed mobile suits on both sides. Like it shows that this is a much different type of war and or combat than we saw in Gundam Wing.
Mm-hmm.
We do get to close out on a fun little MASH-esque gag though, because again, we get the letter to BB closing narration that has to be changed up because things have suddenly changed with the commander coming back.
Well, he needs to stop writing these letters when that guy goes out assuming he's dead, because he's like not.
Yeah.
Well, that's the gag I wish would be repeated every episode. Is like, well,
yeah, nope,
if
he's
I
totally
had
dead
this time, yeah.
Okay, so two things about this ending. I think it would be an interesting thing to do a Gundam series told from the perspective of letters of a person in a war, the conflict that's the main story of the Gundam series. I think that'd be really interesting. I think they could do some really cool things with that. Also, is that Gundam on autopilot? He's just sleeping in there.
Yeah. How does that work?
If you could just put that thing on autopilot and it'll go home, why didn't you do that to start with? And
Because he was chasing the other Zaku.
Well, I think he got lost and he needed to orient himself.
But he has this giant machine, and somehow it doesn't have an internal map. He's looking at a paper map inside the Zaku, and with a flashlight looking at it.
Listen, he's confused because he's so tired that watch won't stop beeping every 15 minutes. He's not getting any sleep.
Bruh, that watch. I was like, bruh, that watch is gonna get you killed, dog. Noise. Noise.
And this is based on the 70s technology, so it has radar, but it doesn't have GPS.
Yeah.
So whenever it's mapping something out, it's sending out a signal.
Yeah, see, I'm willing to forgive it things like that because in my mind I just slotted into, oh, it's basically Vietnam with giant robots. So of course they're using paper maps in Vietnam with their
Also, I
giant
think
robots.
it's a funnier gag if he's using a paper map.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I do like the fact that everyone's so surprised he came back alive. Like, I was like, I mean, he is a capable pilot, and it was only one Zaku. Like, I mean, if we're going to make a bet, I would have definitely bet he would have came back alive. Because wait for it, just because he's on Earth doesn't mean the combat is that different. Like, they wrote this guy off so fast.
Yeah. Well, I was willing to let that slip as well because of the notion that, you know, it was a brutal war and people were just dying that fast. You don't learn the new guy's name.
It'd be. I hope later it'd be interesting if we see like gorillas fighting the mobile suits and how like a bunch of like I want to see Ewok tactics against Gundams.
So one thing that I did really like about this that I totally forgot when we were talking about it, but it's a tactic that I've used in the past. So he starts trying to move forward and is like, oh, I'm not in 0G, falls forward in his big Gundam. And so Karen comes, kneels down next to him and provides him covering fire. I thought that was really a really nice touch that, you know, they're using actual tactics that military use.
Mm-hmm.
Again, nothing like we saw in Gundam Wing. Because in Gundam Wing, it was just, as much as they like to talk about putting the Gundam pilots together, they really weren't together. It was always either one or two of them together or just lone wolfing it, murdering tons and tons and tons of robots.
Well, in Gundam Wing, in that scene, and I thought about this when it was happening, actually, that scene where the Zaku's approaching with his axe out, the difference is in Gundam Wing, we would have gotten a laser sword fight right there. Like, it wouldn't have been a tactical combat ending. It would have been a sword fight between robots because that would look cooler.
Yeah, but and you know, this is giving props to both the storyboarding and the illustration is that they're using more realistic tactics. The teams are being aware of their surroundings and trying to not disrupt the civilians that live here as much as humanly possible. Trying to be a more of a quote unquote peacekeeping force while still trying to root out this secret organization.
And I believe we'll see how complicated that gets in the next episode, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it's again, I think they've done a good job of doing an analogy to Vietnam. I think they've and I also, now the one thing they haven't touched on yet, but I think we're going to get a little bit of that next episode, is the morality of what they're doing. Like, and that conflict that soldiers have when they're doing things like that. Like, I think we'll get to that a little bit more, and especially as this show goes on, like, which is good. Again, I'm kind of glad that this isn't the normal savoir-faire of the Gundams, which is the efficacy of child soldiers. Like, everybody's military age in this, okay? Like,
yeah. Well, except for maybe the swimming people. I don't know. That was a little questionable, but
yeah, she looked slightly young. She looked slightly young. But then again, her purpose for this episode, I swear to God, was boobs. Like, I just
clearly,
just couldn't. They just couldn't. They gave us a strong female character. They're like, yeah, but we just can't give you too much. Can't give you too much. Mind you, she did try to shoot him though. So kudos to her.
That'd be my first response.
Like, and then we see her up a tree, like, watching him leave, like, oh, he's a Federation pilot. Interesting. I'm plotting now.
If she had done the Mr. Bird's hands, it would have been great.
Excellent.
we will definitely see more with her and the locals.
Yeah, it's, you know, I hope also that we get some transforming Gundams in this. I think, because again, with this being later in the war from, you know, the original series, the fact that Gundam had different loadouts, had those different attachments and accessories, I really, really hope we get some of that too.
Well, we're hearing a lot about this Zaku secret weapon, or the Xeon secret weapon.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is the weapon that Jerrica is testing is going to come up pretty heavily pretty soon.
That her brilliant but sick brother is building.
Between
He's not
bouts of writing poetry.
Yeah, hanging out in a Victorian drawing room, like putting his arm around her shoulder in creepy ways.
Uncomfortable fashions, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't even want to know about what his soul glow addiction is doing to the environment. I mean, he's got to have a lot of product for that hair.
Why do you think they're invading Earth in the first place?
I want a Gundam hairspray commercial. Like him getting out of a gold Dorothy Cadillac and then it pops. Let your soul glow.
Well,
like,
when you were mentioning the idea of having a Gundam series centered around letter writing, I thought it would be fun to, because Universal Century is increasingly sprawling, like this main timeline. It might be fun to have a half-hour Kensburn-esque inspired piece that just tells the history of the war, so we have some sort of background spine to what's going on in each of these series.
oh man, get David Attenborough to narrate it.
Like the original series doesn't hold up well, so here is just like us Ken Burns panning in on like cells of animation
Oh, better
when we
yet.
talk about what happened.
Or better yet, they
And then I
splice,
went,
they splice it in with live action footage of Werner Herzog talking to the Ainu people of Japan. They're like, wait, what? Like, I'm on an active volcano and we're talking about the impact of giant robots. What? Like, oh my God, Werner Herzog.
He's done Star Wars. We can get him to do Gundam.
You can get him to do anything at this point. He wanted to eat that baby Yoda.
I would like to see the baby.
you cowards! Use the puppet, you cowards!
I want to know how much money they had to pay that man.
Yes, I am a new type.
Yeah, I think he's...
My spatial awareness is very good.
Oh God, Werner Herzog piloting a Gundam. I'd watch that. I'd watch that in a heartbeat. Come on, Pacific Rim 3.
Anyway, we're getting off topic. Favorite
Yes.
parts?
Favorite parts.
Definitely the high-quality Zaku animation in the jungle. That was definitely my favorite bits. I'm a
Yes.
sucker for the Zakus.
Yeah, I was about to say,
It was
you're slightly
lovely to see.
biased to the Zakus, aren't you?
Yeah, deeply biased, I will admit.
Got
I actually
leech.
loved the animation of the opening shot where we're like seeing the come in and it's very idyllic, and we get the slanted light because they're on Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and the spacers are just complaining about how Earth smells bad and is terrible and what's with this climate control. And then, like, as the Jeep's going towards the horizon, like, you see the Gundams, like, stand up
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
in a really interesting way, and that's just, like, such a good shot.
It's
Yeah,
one
it
of the
was-
few
it was
times. It's one of the few times you get to see perspective of how big the Gundams actually are.
Mhm.
Like when they're having this team of Gundams walk down with the backpacks and the shields and the weapons, and they're just in these like transport trucks. Like, it's a really nice scene.
And in that scene, you can definitely tell that they're animating it, like, there's different layers to the animation. Like, because
Yeah.
the foreground is animating and the background's animating, and they're standing up against it. And it's all traveling in different directions. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, we're several Gundam series off from getting this type of animation quality in an actual series. Like, the fact that this is an OAV shows you just the difference in budget. Like,
Yeah, I want to say that they did not get this good in the animation until, like, 00.
00? Yeah, was that before Destiny or after?
After? See, Destiny was better, but Seed was pretty cheap, actually.
Yeah, and 00 had fantastic imagery. I still love that scene where he snipes from space.
Yes.
So good.
That has one of my favorite scenes where the part where they're just like, "Oh, this isn't the beam rifle. This is a beam sword." It's just a mile-long beam sword.
Also, it's funny you mentioned that. No beam weaponry from any of the Gundams so far.
Sanders used a beam saber.
Well, that was
Oh,
in
yeah, that's right.
space, though.
No,
No.
that's how he killed the one Zaku.
That's right.
He closed in and stabbed it.
Yeah, that's right.
Which, again, didn't turn into a sword fight. It was just, I'm here, you're stabbed.
the combat in this is a lot more like gritty and brutal, which I like.
Yeah, I also like the fact that they can, again, you can shoot a car with a lot of bullets, but unless you hit it in vital areas, it can still run. So
yeah,
seeing these robots struggle to move and do things, whereas in Gundam Wing, like you cut off an arm and it explodes. Like,
yeah. Well, that second Zaku the commander was chasing was running around without an arm for the majority of the episode.
I mean, in the first episode, what's his name only had half a mobile suit left.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He would have been long blown up in Gundam Wing. Like he would have been space dust.
Pretty explosion. So what was your favorite part, Spence?
Definitely. Oh God, you saw me. Now I'm gonna shoot you.
Yeah. I was like, you didn't have to shoot me. Yes, you did. She totally did. And good for her.
Yep. You were creeping on me while I was bathing and enjoying myself. I don't know who you are. You're probably a threat. I'm gonna shoot you.
You know, and again, like no redeeming qualities for him, because usually in anime the protagonist comedically stumbles upon the naked girl and then he's immediately embarrassed, turns his back, or has his hands in the air like I didn't see anything.
He didn't even have the courtesy to have a nosebleed.
Yeah, like he's just ogling. Like there's nothing. Like
he's like, pretty.
Like the Earth sure is pretty.
Man, the scenery on Earth. You know, at least Duo would have blushed.
This episode leaned very heavily on the characterization of him as a hero in the last episode.
Yeah.
Like,
yes,
that was the thing we were supposed to look at, right? I was super courageous in space, utility, spaceball, defeat, and like now I'm going to go creep out and screw up.
Yeah, very good in space, not prepared for Earth.
Or Earth girls.
Or Earth boobs.
Earth girls
or boobs.
Not easy, by the way. Earth girls are not easy, by the way. They have guns. They will.
What was your favorite moments, Banks?
Leeches, man. I just like the animation of that scene. Like it made me very happy because again, having been in the military, one of the things that we had to deal with when I trained in Louisiana before I went to Iraq was the swamp and mosquitoes and leeches and snakes and the creepy crawlies, and that is real. That is absolutely real. Like you get in that water for 2 nanoseconds and you're going to find something attached to you in a place you do not want it to be. And I just really like that. Mind you, the fact that he got those leeches off so quickly was not realistic.
No.
Yeah.
Like, those leeches gave up.
They were just like, oh, what is this? Space blood? That's nasty.
Oh no. Like, oh God, the leeches. Like they're just oh no, Barbara. That's space blood. That Picard vineyard. Chateau Picard. Oh man. I love the fact that he's on a vineyard in that show, by the way.
No spoilers.
But does he make Earl Grey flavored wine is the question.
Yes. The answer is yes.
That is, by the way, that's a deep cut. That's a super deep cut to random episode in TNG where he was talking about what he would want to do, and that was make wine. That's a deep cut.
Well, I mean, there is the episode where he goes and visits his brother.
Yeah, his brother had the vineyard.
I just find it interesting that in a post-scarcity situation where they have replicators, he's still like, meh, let's go mash some grapes.
Dude, that's gotta be like $1 million a bottle.
Yeah,
or no dollars a bottle.
Yeah, because the United Federation of Plants,
but not post property apparently.
Yeah, I mean, how many bottles of wine does he have? Like, if there's no money, like, oh my God,
maybe he sells it all to the Ferengi. I don't know.
Yeah,
this is Earth wine.
He's spiking it with Romulan ale.
I bet you actually, the more I think about it, the more I think the Klingons are probably the target market there.
Oh,
like, you know, he's got a rep amongst them. They're like, oh, it's Picard wine. I like to know
how much blood is in it.
I've heard he ferments this with the blood of his enemies. Worf is just snickering in the corner. Oh my gosh. By the way, no aliens in Gundam. Like the only thing close to an alien is new types because they were
Well,
born.
yeah, because it's all in Earth.
I want a Gleep Glop. Can we get a Gundam series with a Gleep Glop?
You can write it and then send it to Funimation or whatever.
The awkward thing is, as soon as you make some sort of weird-looking alien type, then they've got to have an exactly matching giant robot suit that looks exactly like them, right? So,
I would watch that. Like, I want to see a giant robot series that does that. Like, because the closest thing we have is like Macross, and those don't look much like people.
You're going to end up getting Dragon Ball Z with Gundams.
Nope.
Didn't you tell me there's a horse-based Gundam that has a Gundam or something?
Yes.
Like, so that's pretty close to this concept.
When we get to G Gundam.
This is why I said we should have did G Gundam, because it's a masterpiece.
Because Master Asia drives a giant robot, and Master Asia has a horse. Master Asia's horse has a robot horse that his robot rides.
Jurd, to put it in a way that you can visualize, imagine if Kamen Rider, when he transformed, and he, instead of getting on his motorcycle, he had a sentient motorcycle that also had to transform so he could ride it. And that's Master Asia and his horse. Oh, Gundam.
All the ridiculousness.
Absolutely. Like, so here's a quick question though, Hugh. So, do you think after this, I know I want G Gundam, but after we finish this up, can we do 0083? 0083?
We probably could. Hold on. I did find the clip.
Are you
from YouTube? From putting it in the chat.
Yes. Again, G Gundam is. You have a character named Chibbity Crockett. What more can you say? And he's the American. I love watching their faces.
Where'd that platform come from? Okay. Anyway. Oh my goodness. Okay.
It's like a David Lynch.
You know.
See, my favorite part of this is that Master Asia's like theme song is actually in Chinese, which is good. But also like the horse also gets in, like, has to wear one of those suits.
And it's like a reverse birth.
That was a little horrifying there for a minute. Yeah, that was fun.
And there's it's throughout.
I tried to watch it, and then it kicked me from the call. So,
you have to watch it later. Like, let's see. I own all of G Gundam, all of Gundam Wing, 0083, 8th MS Team, Stardust Memory, both seasons. I think the only one I don't have is Turn A Gundam, 00, and Iron Blood Orphans. And the movies. And Double Zeta. I do have Zeta, which is by far my favorite series.
Like, I want to say this is like 15 episodes, and then we will have the decision of what we want to watch next.
Yeah, I think 0083 is a shorter one too.
Right, I think that's also an OVA, but I don't know if it's available, so I'll have to figure out where we can watch it.
Hey, if I have to, I can solidly pass it to you via
legal means.
Letters.
Yeah. Letters.
Yes. Vietnam.
You write letters describing it to us.
Yes.
Dearest baby. The ensign went off again. And I'm really sure he's dead this time.
This time. What number of letters is this? 7?
Letter 286.
I know I said it 285 times that I thought he was dead this time. But now I'm sure
I'm positive.
Positive he's dead. Oh, gosh.
Big X through it. Somehow, that jerk just came waltzing back from the forest. Nothing was wrong, and he had lipstick all over his face.
For some reason, he said he found a tribe of Amazons in the middle of the jungle. I mean,
But then they dunked him in a hot spring, and now he has a terrible curse.
and yes,
Of leeches. Permanent leeches.
yes. Every time he hits cold water, he turns into a leech.
Oh God! Like,
Why don't they let us write?
there.
Why don't they let us write anime?
Because they've already done this show, and it's called Wrap Up in Half. It's
But
So
does,
are we good
does
to
the
wrap
panda
up?
ride a giant robot that is also a panda?
Look, Japan gave Spider-Man a mech, so they'll give anyone.
Yeah.
An unrelated mech.
And to your question, Hugh, I am out of notes.
Yeah. I mean, we covered everything. I think it's just, I didn't think this episode would be as just all over the place. I mean, from gung-ho, I don't know how to fight on ground, but I'm going to keep chasing this Zaku to, oh, naked girl swimming. I'm going to creepily stare at her. Why is that a gun? Why is she's shooting at me. Why would she shoot at me? To, sick brother, take your medicine. You made this experimental ship. Don't get sick because of me, brother. I wonder where that watch went. It'll come back soon, I'm sure.
It's fine.
Like,
They definitely had all of the threads in this episode. Like last episode felt a little bit more like we're just establishing a few characters. This one was just a push full into these are all of the things that we're going to have to deal with during this season, or during this series. Everything that was touched on in this episode will basically be a string that gets pulled later on.
I predict that the sister will die and the brother will be heartbroken and take his revenge on everybody.
now, will he don a mask is the question.
No, he won't, and I will be sad.
Because so far, we don't have a Char.
Well, he's sick, so he's just gonna wear one of those respiratory masks.
Yeah, there you go.
No, he's gonna wear.
Like he's got a cold.
He's gonna wear a plague doctor mask.
No, he's not. He's too cool for that.
He can't fit it into the Gundam. He keeps hitting the screen.
Yeah, and then the Gundam keeps ejecting its weapon.
Damn it!
So you can find all our notes at nostalgiapilots.com. Follow us on Twitter at nostalgiapilots. Find my business at hughjodonnell.com.
You can find mine over at skinner.fm.
And you can find everything I do over at nerdswithvoices.com.
And everything from me is at resonantmoon.com.
So until next time, when we'll be talking about 8th MS Team Episode 3, good night, and the Earth is harsh.
Yes, sir. Please kiss my ass, sir.
Good night.
He accomplished his mission. We're alive.
The Flashbulb Podcast. 3 to 10 minutes of fiction brought to you thrice weekly. From cosmic horrors to fisticuffs, fast cars, and smart mouths, we've got a chill for every spine. Find it all at flashpulp.com or search for it on iTunes.